Hello and welcome to BiGDUG's DIY how-tos. Today we're going to look at tiles and more specifically how you can cut, measure, shape and drill through tiles. Now there's lots of different tile cutting devices out there, but we're going to show you how you can cut almost any shape with just a few basic hand tools. The first cut we're going to do is a really simple one, a nice straight line. As you can see here, I've got some tiles laid out as they probably would be against a wall. There's a gap here. I want to fill that gap with a tile. Now I could measure that with a tape measure, but actually here's a little tip. Take the tile you want to cut, place it on top of the one out from the wall, line it up, take another tile and place it on top of this first tile. As you can see, I'm using spacers to give me exactly the right distance from the wall. Then when I draw a line down through here, that gives me exactly the right size of that space just here. And that's the bit we're going to cut and fit into there. We recommend you wear PPE when cutting tiles. So I've got my line that I've already made, and I'm going to cut it with a scribe. Now this scribe is made of tungsten carbide, and what I'm going to do is score down the tile. This creates a nice line. Now the thing is, you must go right to the end of the tile. If you don't, you might get one of those little chips in the corner. Now that we've scribed it, this is the tip. Take your pencil, put it directly underneath the line, hold one side of the tile and then just apply pressure on the other side of the tile. There you go. There's your cut tile. Very, very simple tools. Put it back into place. There you go. The next shape we're going to cut is a curve. You're probably wondering where are curves in my house? Well, here's my pretend toilet. The aim is to put a tile into this space. So we're going to have this big curve just here. The thing to do is to get a piece of paper the same size as your tile and shape it around the object. This is a top tip. What you're going to do, get your scissors, cut into the paper. Like nice long slits. You're going to place it in the shape you want it and then mark around the shape. Cut this out. Now, retest the shape. It's always better to measure twice. Going to put it into place and see if it fits. In fact, I'm just going to cut that a little bit off there. It's sticking out a bit, that one. Yeah, I'm happy with that shape. Now I'm going to mark it on my tile. Don't forget your PPE when you're cutting. I'm using a slightly different tool. This has got a tungsten carbide wheel, which is really easy to score the tile with, and it's also got a snapper bar. So I'm going to mark the cut. Remember to go all the way to the end of the tile. If you haven't, just redo that end bit. Take the bar, place it in the middle of the line, and snap. Sometimes you don't get a perfect edge, so get your bit of sandpaper. And then test it out. And there you go. There's your curved tile. The next shape we're going to look at is a door jamb. I effectively want to put this tile into that space just there. So I need to cut that little jamb out of my tile. So how do we measure that? Here's a tip. Take the tile, butt it against the door frame, but bring it out a little bit. You always want to have a little gap. Mark on the tile where the door jamb goes there. Do the same for this side of the door jamb. Again, just bring it out a little bit. Mark either side of the door jamb. Use a square to line all those up. That's the cut I want. just checking to see if it lines up. Don't forget your PPE. This is a top tip for marking out what you need to cut. This is obvious because we're going to cut out this little section, but always mark on a tile which bit's going to be cut and which bit you're going to save, because you don't want to cut the wrong bit. So I've marked it out. This is a tungsten carbide saw. Now, to make it really accurate, you need to cut on the inside of the line because the saw blade is quite thick. To finish off the cut across here, I'm going to use our scribe. Now you don't need any fancy tools, just a pair of pliers. And there you go, there's the shape cut out. And it fits in perfectly. The next shapes we have to deal with can be quite awkward, and it's pipe work. So here we've got an example of a piece of pipe coming out of the floor. This is my nice skirting board and my pretend floor I've got here. The first thing we have to think about is how to mark the pipe work. It's pretty simple. Take your tile and align it up to the pipe and the skirting board. Remember to give yourself a bit of a gap at the edge there for your silicone. Mark the pipe work across there and do the same this side. Again, giving a bit of gap for your grout. What we're going to do now is line these up. And now, I'm just going to recheck it again just to make sure that I've done it all. You can see that's where the pipe needs to come through the tile. Now I've already done one. It's one I made earlier. If that pipe wasn't attached to anything, it'd be really simple because you could just put this tile straight over the pipe like that. But life's never that simple, is it? That pipe's going to be attached to a radiator, so you can't just do that. So we need to drill that hole in the tile and then either split the tile or take out a section of the tile so that we can slot it in. So let me show you how you do that. First thing we're going to do is drill, talk about how to drill. There's a couple of different methods I've brought with me today. The first bit I've got today is a diamond bit. I've got a 20 mil because the pipe's 15. I just want to give myself a bit of leeway when I use this. Now, the one big problem with using this is that when you try and drill this hole, invariably this bit is going to jump all over the tile. So it's called a C cutter because when you cut it, you have to start at 45 degrees into the tile and you create like a sort of a smile or a C shape. Once you've got it in far enough, you then tilt it up to vertical and then continue. Let me show you how that's done. Put my PPE on. I start at 45 degrees with my drill and I turn my drill on so that it's running. If I show you that, you'll see why it's called a C cutter. Because we start at 45 degrees. Now that we've got that, I then tip it up and finish off the cut. And there is our hole. Let me show you another method of cutting a hole. I'm going to mark up another tile. So I know that that's the wall. This is the bit I want to cut out. This time I want to find out my exact centre of where my pipe is. So I'm going to go from corner to corner, and that is my center point where I need to drill. The reason I've done that is because making this hole, I'm actually going to make a pilot hole before I start. This way it's really accurate. As you can see, I've made a little pilot hole. Now this device I'm using here is called a circular tile cutter. Now, as you can see, this bar extends all the way to the outside. You can cut between 20 and 95 millimeters. And it's great, it's got 2 blades on it. So the first one is the center, and then obviously the second cuts the outer ring. As you can see, it's a perfect hole. I really like this device. I think it's more precise because you can do that precision little pilot hole before you start. Now that we've cut a hole in our tile, there's 2 ways of attacking this. You can either take the bit out the back, behind the hole, and then just slide it in around the pipe, or you could cut along the line of the tile, snap it into 2, and then just place it either side of the tile. First method, we're going to remove this chunk of the tile behind the pipe work with a saw. And there is one of the problems. Tiles do snap, doesn't matter what you do to them, but I'll show you how this looks. With that bit cut out, you'll see that the saw is quite messy and it does tend to chip the tile quite a lot. Those 2 bits that I just sawed and consequently snapped, you'll see it's not particularly attractive. A better way of doing it, take the tile, score it down the center, take your pencil, snap the tile in 2, and then put it either side of your pipe. And you'll see it's a slightly better finish, but again, there's no perfect solution for this. I hope you found these measuring and cutting techniques useful. If you liked the video, please subscribe and give us a thumbs up. Thanks for watching, and see you next time.